all set with the music, and we're back with day 28 already. 30-day journey into sound. It's been a good 30-day meditation challenge. A couple more days left, and what can I say? My, how time flies. I hope I've given you some helpful tips and tricks, tidbits, and shown you maybe perhaps a new way to meditate using music. What we're doing here, if you're new to the group, is completing up a 30-day meditation challenge. Now, the group was originally founded as a 30-day meditation challenge group over 4 years ago. And the 30-day meditation challenge for me was my way to give back to you, to gather friends, family, and set up a daily meditation habit. And from my over 30 years experience practicing and studying meditation, I've concluded that it really does take a daily dedicated practice to make progress. And what is progress in meditation? If you're completely new to the group or completely new to meditation, you probably have heard a lot of different things about what meditation is and what style or technique of meditation I should practice. And to me, the bottom line is meditation means stillness. Meditation practice is a way to get beyond the usual limited mind state. You know, we're walking through life and we perceive life in a certain way. Perhaps you're happy, perhaps you're unhappy. Perhaps everything goes well for you, perhaps nothing goes right for you. It all depends. We're all somewhere on that spectrum in life. And usually those that are attracted to meditation practice are people who understand that this mind, this body, these emotions are something that can be, for lack of a better word, hacked. Meaning, you know, what is the process of hacking something? Hacking is getting in, changing the code to derive a specific outcome. And we've all been given a code. We've all been given a program to go by in life. Whether we're born in the US, whether we're born in Europe, Asia, India, Africa, China, wherever you're born, we're born into a culture and a society. As soon as we're born, of course, we have our cultural and societal influences that determine quite a bit about what we will perceive in life. Due to the fact that we're born in a specific land, at a specific time, we kind of become cultured into that land, into those ideas, into those thought forms, primarily with language. Language. There's a lot to be said about language and perception. Did you know that the Japanese have certain, I don't know how many, but they have many words for the word love, for example. Whereas, let's say comparatively in English, we have a very limited amount of vocabulary that we use for specific perceptions. And so when we're born, we are pure. When we're born, we're pure consciousness. Now, if you believe in reincarnation, now maybe there's some past life residual perceptual tendencies that we bring in to this incarnation, And this is something called karma. Now, karma, of course, is something that is, we've all heard of the word, I'm sure. Most people think it's defined as, what you do comes back to you. And that's kind of a basic understanding of karma. Karma is really memory. Memory that shapes your mind. Memory that shapes your perception, your mind state. So when you're born with a certain type of karma. The way that you've led your past lives. However many past lives we've had, and who knows, really, honestly. The masters will say we've had countless past lives. Now, personally, I can't verify whether that's true or not, but I do believe in reincarnation, and I do have a sense that I've lived before, and maybe you have too. Maybe you have this sense that you've been here before, that certain things just seem kind of familiar to you. Perhaps something like meditation or the practice of self-discovery seems somewhat familiar to you, so you're attracted back to it. You're attracted back to the practices that will bring you a certain level of perception, perhaps, that is not common. So we're born into this world, whether you're born into a foreign land or born into wherever you're born. We are influenced by our culture. We're influenced by our families, societies, friends, school, and eventually we're influenced by all sorts of things, media. At a certain age, perhaps 12, perhaps 16, 18, I don't know. At a certain age, some of us look around and say, gosh, there's got to be more to this. Perhaps we're born into a certain land or country that's never heard of the cultures of another land. Perhaps religion is a big influence to your mind when you're young. And so at a certain age, you kind of wake up and say, gosh, there's got to be more to life than just this way of life. Perhaps there's a better way. Perhaps there's a way that's more complete, more closer to nature, closer to reality. And so we go on a journey of self-discovery. We look for things. Maybe we check out the local library. I don't know, libraries were a big thing in my day. I don't know about you guys anymore, you kids out there. You go on the internet and we search for other cultures, other ways. What foods do other cultures eat? What religions do other cultures believe in? What is their history? What is their age, perhaps? How many years have they been that particular culture or country or whatever it might be? And you kind of go on this quest, you go on this search, and you're looking for something a little deeper with a little bit more meaning. And, for me, for some particular reason, I was always attracted to Asian cultures when I was very young. I remember taking a trip to a Chinatown here in the U.S. when I was young, and just for some reason, and no one else in my family was, but for some reason I was just attracted to the Asian artwork, to the Asian writing, to the Asian people, to the face. There was just something about that felt familiar to me. And perhaps maybe you're in the same boat. There's just something about meditation that you sense intuitively, that there's something deeper, there's something more meaningful, that it can perhaps reignite or allow you to remember something that is more real, maybe more important than just the mundane day-to-day activities of life. So we're all grown up, we're all born in a land, in a culture, in a society where we're influenced, programmed, directed to be, hey Miriam, good to see you. And we're all indoctrinated by our culture. Now that sounds like a harsh word, indoctrination. It's forced. Well, if you've ever tried to go outside of your society, of your culture, you'll quickly find out how quickly most, people will look at you strangely. Oh, you're into weird stuff, or that's just, strange, or whatever it might be. And it's interesting. But of course, we persevere and we look for these things that will bring us to a deeper understanding. And for me, it was martial arts. When I was 15, I started my journey, and I sought a martial arts master. Hey Van, good to see you, my friend. Rena. And I was lucky enough to find a martial arts teacher in my hometown who taught the type of martial arts that I was looking for. I was a big fan of Chinese kung fu movies when I was a kid, and I looked at them and I just loved the sequences of the training and watching the master train the student and how they would train them and push them, and seeing that student evolve over time through the training and eventually, defeat the evil master and perhaps become a master himself one day. And so these movies inspired me, and I wanted to become a master. I didn't really know what that entailed. I just knew that there was the possibility because I saw it. I saw it in these movies. I watched it in these movies. I watched the master, how he acted, how he conducted himself, or she. And it inspired me because I didn't really see a lot of masters around in my hometown, in my small town where I grew up. And I was very fortunate that the teacher of martial arts that I went to also taught meditation. And I didn't know a whole heck of a lot about meditation when I was 15, but I knew that it was part of the process of mastering martial arts. So I was, of course, interested in learning. Because I knew that if you mastered the body, of course you needed to also master the mind, the emotions, the breath. There's many different aspects of ourselves. And so, I was fortunate enough that my first martial arts teacher taught meditation. And we would meditate before each and every class. Some simple breathing meditation, and eventually some more advanced qigong meditation. Flowing energy, learning about qi. And so from my first martial arts teacher, I learned, not only kung fu, martial arts, but also tai chi, and also qigong, and also meditation. And so it was years later, when I was a little bit older, that I finally found my true meditation teacher. I met a meditation master when I was about 18 years old, whom I studied with for a period of about 3 years, and 3 or 4 years or so. This is the early 90s. It's about 1992 to about 1995-ish. And this is where I learned about Buddhism, and I learned about Kundalini meditation, chakras, single-pointed mind, a lot of the techniques that I teach. One of my favorite techniques that I teach, I call the 5 Steps to Stillness. And 5 Steps to Stillness is a program that I will be bringing out to you guys and to the world very soon. I've been working on a course in the background for some time. Trying to get over some of my procrastination, of course. But it will be a video course, and it will be definitely out before the end of the year. So I'm excited to be bringing that to you guys, bringing that next. And then later I, of course, dove into many different esoteric studies, from astrology to learning about geometry, sacred geometry, and how that all relates to music, frequency, creation, a whole lot of different interests. But when it comes to meditation, what I learned is that there is the potential for each and every one of us to become realized, to become liberated, to become enlightened, to become a Buddha. And whether that's your interest in meditation or not, that's okay. Because when we begin the path toward realization or enlightenment or Buddhahood or, just even higher consciousness, along the way, we will develop all kinds of positive side effects from meditation. And a lot of these side effects from meditation are what a lot of people seek. And I see this here in the group, I see this all over the internet. That people are attracted to meditation to relieve stress, overcome anxiety, quiet down the mental chatter, be happy, ultimately. Just simple things. And these are all things that will happen when you practice meditation regularly. So whatever your reason that you sit down and meditate, or that you pursue the path of self-discovery, spirituality, meditation, whatever you want to call it, for me, it's all about awesome. For me, it's all about what meditation is really about. Meditation practice is stillness. And I like to speak in practical terms because everybody can understand what stillness is. Most people experience an active mind, an overactive mind. And it's difficult to really understand what stillness is. So when I talk about meditation, I feel that stillness is a very relatable concept that anybody can understand. Instead of talking about samadhi, enlightenment, Buddhahood, liberation, witness consciousness, all of these terms that can be somewhat new to the beginner or to someone interested in meditation, I like to speak in terms very simple, very practical terms. And the fact is that when we become still, when our mind becomes still, this is when the realization can take place. This is when we can realize and discover. The word discover means to uncover. Discover. When we uncover what is being covered. I like to talk about meditation in very practical terms, as I said, in understandable terms. We can all relate to attention. When I talk about attention, what I'm referring to is your willful direction of your perception, your awareness. Your willful directed awareness, I call attention. So we could say, give me your attention, or, look at that thing, listen to this thing, taste this thing. Our attention is somewhat segmented. Our attention is somewhat separate because it's controlled, it's controllable. Meaning we can direct our attention at a thing, at a person, at a place, at a scene, at a sound, at a taste. We can put our attention behind any of our senses. So here's the problem. Due to the fact that we're not really given much guidance in this life about things like attention or who we really are or awareness, spirituality, higher consciousness, most people's attention is caught. It's attached. It's stuck. Most people's attention is stuck in their thoughts. It's stuck in their senses. They just can't seem to get out of the box. And the box is simply a cube which relates to the third dimension, 3D. And we are beings of a multi-dimensional nature. The problem is because of this attachment, because of this attachment of our attention, we're stuck within this box. We're stuck within the box of the body, of the senses. And since we don't know that there's a beyond, or most of us aren't taught that there's a beyond, the world, for most of us, does not teach that there is a multi-dimensional world. We're taught that this is a physical world, 3D, material world. I'm a material girl or guy. And this is all we know. This is all we have. This is what we seek. This is what we pursue. This is what we consider success. And it's kind of backward. It's very twisted. Material success, nothing wrong with it. Firm believer in it. You know, Capricorn by nature. So, of course I want that nice car and that nice house and my nice things. But I don't believe that those things are the be-all, end-all of creation. Now sure, you should have as much nice things as you want and pursue material things if you want. But the realization comes that those things don't necessarily bring happiness because we're going to die. We're going to die. So life is impermanent. But the good news is there's reincarnation. As my teacher used to say, the bad news is also that there's reincarnation. It's not good, it's not bad. It is the way of life. Life is a cycle, no different from nature. When we see I'm in the northeast United States where we experience 4 seasons, and we're at the end of summer now. We're about to experience autumn, the fall. And this is a great time to reflect on change and impermanence because we see the cycle. And we can see the cycle in a tree, for example. The tree, sprouts its leaves. We want to get into the real nitty-gritty. It starts as a seed, and there's the, growth, maturation, birth, growth, maturation, decay, and death. This is the 5 steps of the life cycle of all things. But what we see is that this is a continual cycle. You've all seen the torus, right? The tube torus. It's like a donut, like a tube. And it's the idea, like a tree, you have its branches up here, you have its trunk, and then you have its roots down here. The cycle of life is a continual process, or it can do this, right? It's the leaves fall, they decay, turn back into the soil, and that gets absorbed back into the roots, which gets pushed back up the tree, and which creates new leaves, life, and then that falls again. Now, of course, that's just a physical level. If we could see the tree on an energetic level, we would see it's just energy flow. This is the directional flow of energy. And each and every human also has a directional flow of energy. We have energy channels, we have an energy body, we're multidimensional. So beyond the physical body, the next stage is our subtle physical. Our subtle physical body, also known as the body of energy, the body of, some people call it the astral body. Some people call it all sorts of things. It's a body that is very close to our physical body. It's where we feel other dimensions. It's where we feel chi, energy, prana, kundalini energy. It's where our chakras are located. In this energy body, there is many different channels. There's many different what are called nadis. The main central channel, known as the Sushumna. Sushumna is a Sanskrit word for main energy channel, I guess you could say. But this is part of the getting to know you process. To realize that there is a beyond the senses. There's a beyond the material world. There's a beyond the body. So, one of the first realizations in meditation we might see, or might realize, and we might understand, we might witness, is that our attention is not physical. Our attention can move from the physical to the energetic, mental. Our attention is meant to be free, and the problem is that our attention is stuck. It's stuck in thinking. It's stuck in senses. And this can be, this is what's known as attachment. So attachment can cause suffering. We've all heard this before. This is basic tenets of Buddhism. Whether you're attached to some sort of a outside external thing, or you're attached to some sort of internal process, be it thinking, be it twitching, be it movement, whatever it might be. Meditation is a way to overcome attachment. So it's really the entire process we go through in an individual meditation session. We go through the entire process of the spiritual path. Or at least we can, if we have proper understanding of what's really going on. So step one in meditation. How do we get our attention out of our senses? Well, we first use the senses. We first bring it to one sense. So for example, in the music meditation, we are using our listening, our hearing, our ears to listen to the music, and by doing this, we are bringing our attention to one single thing. What this does is it creates a steady stream of attention, which is not our normal everyday experience. Normally our attention is sort of scattered around. It bounces around, and depending on your mind, depending on your experience, your training, your career, your schooling, your life, will determine the status of your attention. Is it something that is easily concentrated on a single thing? Is it scattered? Are you someone who just cannot get out of that thought process, or at least hasn't to this point yet? Perhaps you haven't had the right instruction or the right instructor to assist you in this process. So, what we're doing here with the music is we are using it as an object of concentration. And just like anything, it takes practice. And if you try it once or twice and you say it's not for you, well, that's fine. But you could try it maybe 2 or 3 more times, and maybe try it again today and see if it's for you. But it doesn't matter if it's for you or not. It's only one particular way. There's many ways. But what we're doing here is we're taking our attention and we're bringing it to one particular thing. By listening to the music, it's a very easy way to create a streamlined attention. Because the music is playing, because the music is happening on its own, it's continuous, and it's happening right now, in the moment, there's a continuous wave that is moving through time. In meditation, we have to deal with a few different elements, time being one of them. Time, attention. And so, by focusing on music, what we want to do is we want to bring our attention right to the ever unfolding crest of the wave of sound that is moving through time. So as the music is happening, it's being played right now. And you could think about what was being played 5 seconds ago, and you'd be caught up in the past. Or you can listen to the music at its absolute moment that it's unfolding, and you will be training your attention to be in this moment perfectly, precisely. So this is why listening to music is just one form of training. Now, if I was to say what's my favorite meditation technique, well, it's usually to meditate in silence. And I personally like to meditate on my chakras with a single pointed mind technique, which is what I teach when I teach the 5 steps to stillness meditation method. But you never know who you could help with some variety. And so by bringing variety to you guys, to the 30-day meditation challenges that I offer here in the group, it's, you never know who, this just could be the money. This could be the technique that works for you. That's, it's good to have at least 2 or 3 techniques in your arsenal that you have to rotate through. So in the past, I would maybe meditate to music at night when I didn't feel like putting out the effort of concentrating really hard on a chakra, for example. I would simply listen to the music. But doing it every single day over the last 27 days has really given me a greater appreciation for this technique, and that it really does work. But you have to apply it. You have to do it correctly. Of course it works. I wouldn't waste my time with it if it didn't. And I wouldn't waste my time telling you if it didn't work. Because I'm only here to provide value for my friends. That's why I started this group. And that's why I do what I do every day here, for free for now. So what we're doing here is, once we can reach a stage of streamlined attention, when you sit and you focus on the music, what we're doing is we're taking our attention and we're bringing it to the sound. Now, we all know what happens, of course. The mind wanders. The mind wanders back to its tendencies. Your mind has a habit, your attention, I should say, has a habit of not really being sure where it should be, so it goes all over the place. But you can wrangle that attention up, lasso that bad boy, whoosh, grab it by the neck and say, "You're staying right here, buddy." And that's what it takes sometimes. You got to get a stranglehold on your attention. Don't be afraid to use a little bit of effort, to use a little bit of willpower in the beginning. Most people's willpower is very weak. And so discipline is the answer. And if you're not disciplining your mind to hold still on one particular point, your mind will be wishy-washy. It will be swept away. Your attention will be swept away with the slightest distraction. And this happens to all of us. This happens to all of us. The key is to try. The key is to show up, do your best. It's no different than going to the gym. Every time I go to the gym, I don't expect it to be better and better and better and better and better and better and better than the last time every single solitary time. That would be quite impossible. But I can do the best I can do in that moment for that workout. If that means, struggling to get that last rep. Every single time you bring your mind, your attention back to the music in this case, or to the breath, if that's what you're doing, or to a chakra, or to the yantra, or a mantra, or a visualization, whatever your technique is, every single time you return your attention to your object of focus, you're doing a rep. Boom. You're doing a repetition that will strengthen that muscle. And it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 times that you have to return your attention. Those are 1,000 reps. And guess what? Every single time that you bring it back, you get stronger. You get more familiar with the process of redirecting your attention. So, what happens next? Once you're able to sort of settle down, this may take 5-10 minutes, depending on the individual. Once you're able to kind of settle down, your body settles down, your attention settles down, because you're continually returning it to an object of focus, in this case the music. And once you've achieved some sort of a more smoother, steady stream of attention that you can hold on the music, because the music is very easy to hold our attention on, because it's pleasurable. Who doesn't love to listen to music? Now, I love to listen to music. If music isn't your thing, then maybe this isn't the technique for you, and that's okay. So, when we're listening deeply, all of a sudden, we will notice that it doesn't require as much effort to keep our attention on the music anymore. At this point, we're entering into a phase or a stage that I call effortless awareness. The idea is very simple. Awareness already is. Consciousness already is. I like to talk about attention, awareness, and consciousness, relating to the 3 stages of traditional understanding of the meditation practice, which is concentration, meditation, samadhi. Most people are familiar with concentration. That's what most people do. They don't call it concentration. Most people call concentration practice meditation. Meditation is actually a state where we enter into where we're not doing anything. It becomes an effortless process. So at the moment where you begin to become aware of the music without even trying, it's just there, or maybe it's in your headphones or wherever, but you don't have to keep redirecting your attention. You're entering into the phase what I call effortless awareness. So you're bordering on that meditative state. In the meditative state, there's still a sense that there is a perceiver. There's still a sense that there is someone experiencing the stillness, the bliss, the peace, whatever it might, however you want to describe what your experience is. There's still a sense of a self. Once we reach the stage of samadhi, which is very rare, by the way, a lot of people get that confused as well. Samadhi is not your average meditation session. It takes years of dedicated practice, and usually one with a master who can show you what it's like to go into samadhi. I've only gone into samadhi a handful of times over my 30 years of meditation. But in samadhi, there's no sense of a self anymore. Now, how do you know you're in samadhi? Well, you know, because when you come back to your senses, when your attention returns to the physical body, where memory is, see, there's no memory in samadhi. It's beyond memory. It's beyond karma. When you go into samadhi, your karmas are cleansed. Your karmas are washed away. This is the whole point, my friend. So there's got to be something good to this meditation stuff, right? And so, but most of us are working with the 2 earlier stages of concentration and meditation. So when we enter into the effortless awareness stage, we begin to realize that it's all just happening, and we're not doing anything. And so this is how we get into the meditative state. But it takes time. It takes a process. It takes training. It takes smoothing out of our attention so that our attention is no longer jumping around and scattered any longer. So we can talk about it or we can do it. This is why I like to come on and do a talk and explain the technique and then do a demonstration. Now, when we enter from the meditative state into consciousness, see, everything is consciousness. This is where we start to get into a little bit of the woo-woo, and it takes a little bit of the faith. And if you're not familiar with this might sound like crazy talk. But it's understood, and it's believed, and it's experienced that consciousness is all things. All things are consciousness, created. And consciousness is just a word. How do you describe what is consciousness? But it's believed that consciousness is all things. It's the creation of all things. You could say consciousness is light. Light is consciousness, or even beyond our conceptual understanding of creation. There is consciousness, already eternal, ever-present, beyond all things. So it's a stage, it's a step, it's a movement toward that which is already ever-present, eternally. Now these are just words, and they sound poetic and they sound great. I've listened to a lot of teachers and a lot of masters, so I'm able to regurgitate a lot of what they've told me and taught me. But this is something that we can experience with our meditation session. This is a realization that we can have. So don't take my word for it. In fact, don't listen to a word I say. I like to say, because it's not about me. It's not about what I say. It's about experiencing this for yourself to verify what I'm saying, to see if what I'm saying is total bullshit or not. This is why I like meditation, because it's not a belief. It's an experience that we can have and verify for ourselves if it's true or not. And so, this is why I like to do the meditation demonstration. So here we go. We're going to be meditating for about 20 minutes here. Now during the meditation process, what we're doing, what you'll see me doing, is becoming gradually more and more settled in, more still. You might see a lot of this in the beginning where I am opening up any sort of energetic and physical tension that I'm feeling. As you get progressively more and more still, you will find that there are areas that you will feel that are more tense and contracted than you perhaps felt before the meditation session. So it's a good idea to learn to let go and release these energetic contractions, any sense of tension that you might feel within the physical, energy, mental, emotional planes. And so simultaneously, as we are redirecting our attention back to the music, we're also surrendering, we're also letting go of any sort of attachment, any sort of an energetic contraction that we might feel. This is important because these are the attachments that our attention will keep returning to. So for example, I'll be listening to the music, and it's not that my attention just goes to the mind. Once the mind and the thoughts settle down, and I'm bordering on that stage of effortless awareness, you'll still notice that the nervous system has tendencies, meaning your nerves. Your eyes will tend to want to continue to blink, even though there's no need for them to blink because your eyes are probably closed. But they will still blink once in a while. This is a reaction. We have many sort of reactions that are called tendencies. These are habits of our physical body that it can be distracting from our pure state of stillness. And so what we'll learn to do with practice is to blink very softly, and we'll think very quietly. We'll learn to think very softly. We'll learn to think very subtly until the thinking becomes breathing, until the movement is just, it's not a distraction anymore. Because our attention, our awareness, has moved into an effortless state. Awareness is just happening. We don't have to do anything. It's just happening. So this realization may occur to you right now. Ooh. Here we go. So if you're new to this process, I'll go over it very briefly. The music is playing. I can hear it. You want to listen? Without distraction. The other thing that's important to note here is as we're listening, the tendency will be for your attention to go back to your body, to realize that you're a person, that you have a name, that you have some activities that you got to do later that you did before, the interactions with people. This will all come back to you. The important thing is to just forget it. Don't give it any mind. Don't pay it any attention. What we want is that pure consciousness, the realization that is beyond all of these tendencies, thoughts. So forget yourself. Forget the world. Practice by making the music your world. Become absorbed in the music fully. Here we go. All right. There should be some sort of a change, some sort of a transformation that you feel. This is why I show you the meditation, so you can see the change in me. It's pretty obvious. You know that it's working when you can forget yourself. When you can, like when you're, what do I mean by forget yourself? Forget you're in a body. Forget you're looking out of your eyes. Even if it's just for a moment. You know it's happening when you're, in the beginning, there's a lot of you. There's a lot of self-listener. A little bit of music, a lot of listener. Then throughout the process of just the 20 minutes or so that we meditate, there should become a definite shift in the balance between how much you and then how much music there is. It's kind of like when you dream, when you go to sleep. We forget about ourselves. We forget that we're a body lying in a bed somewhere. And we enter into the dream world. Fully forget about this dimension, 100%. So when we enter into the music is just a means to an end. It's not the end. But it's a good reflection of how we're doing in our meditation when we can sit mostly still and all we hear is the beautiful music, and the music becomes a world that we enter. And then momentarily you might pop back to yourself and adjust or take a breath or something, but it's through this process that we become familiar with doing this process throughout the day. Throughout your day, now, you can become absorbed in the moment. That's what it's all about. By losing yourself in the moment, you own it. Better never let it go. Oh, me. And so yes, Eminem taught a very important lesson in that song. It's about losing yourself. Forget yourself. Forget this world. Now you'll be back. You'll come back. The world will be here. You'll still be here. Just like when you wake up from sleep. But just like when you wake up from sleep, there's a renewal. There's a refreshment that occurs. And so when we come out of the meditation, there's a newness to your perception. There's a clarity. It's not so obscured by thought filter. You know, they say the mind is like a mirror. And for most of us, the mirror is very dirty. And so we don't quite get that accurate reflection. And what we see in the reflection is really just a lot of us. But when the mind becomes clear, and by clear, I mean still. When you look at water that is agitated and active, it's all churned up. It's not clear. Perhaps the mud is kicked up from the bottom. But when the water settles down and is no longer, when the mind is settled down, when it becomes still, it can become like that clear water. and it can perfectly perceive. There you go, my friends. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. We got a couple more days left to this journey, and it's been fun. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Take care.